So I know that there's a lot of clickbaity type videos on YouTube, but I can promise you that this is not one of them. This video that I'm about to go through with you is actually going to deliver on the promise I put in the title and in the thumbnail, which is a very, very simple hack you can implement right now that will skyrocket your closing rate and help you close a lot more clients. Now, before I actually get into the hack, I just want to explain super quickly why you should care. If you're not into how can I improve my closing rate and you're not looking into these things, you're fundamentally leaving money on the table. And the reason that is because if you look at an agency or consulting business or anything like that in the online space, closing or sales is always going to be the most expensive part in the business. And here's why. First of all, if you think about it, closing has two things that can accumulate cost, if you will, right? The first thing is opportunity cost. So if you're not closing at a high percentage and you're letting a lot of deals slip through the pipe, then you are leaving massive amounts of potential money on the table because you don't sign those clients, and that's massive opportunity cost. Now, if you are closing at a really, really good rate and you're closing a lot of deals, then it is still going to be the most expensive department because you should be paying really good commissions. Or if you're growing your pipeline at a very, very quick rate, then there's going to be things like hiring VAs and other people to do lead sourcing and outreach, or just running ads to fill the pipeline with qualified traffic. Either way, we have cost, right? And the reason that's important is because whenever there's cost in a business, you as a business owner, it is your responsibility to look at that cost and say, how can I improve it? How can I make it more efficient? And that's what we're going to cover in this video. Now, before I get into it, again, just why should you listen to me? Well, if you're new to the channel, my name's Courtne. I've run 2 marketing agencies. I've scaled both of them. Centralsite, which I sold after getting it to 7 figures. And now I'm building GrowthTube, which is the example that I'm going to give you. I also run an education company where I help agency owners, which is why I make these videos. And yeah, I've got nothing to sell you. I just want to provide you true value. So let's break into it and let's show you what I have for you today. All right, so the first thing that I just really want to cover, because I feel like if you don't understand this, you're not going to understand the rest of the video, but what are we actually trying to do on a sales call, right? We have this little call that we call a sales call, and what it really is a discovery call. It's basically the process of figuring out, where the prospect is now, and where their future self wants to be, and then looking at, well, how can we bridge the gap between, where they are now and where they want to be? And usually what we're looking for is things that they think need to happen for them to move from this position to this position, right? Maybe they need more leads, maybe they need more sales, maybe they need to increase their conversion rate, like whatever it is. The whole thing is to frame this transition as a service which you deliver. And then you basically go through the process of figuring out more detail over here so you can use it as leverage in your closing position, and then using this as leverage to say, hey, if we actually implement the service and we do that, then you would have achieved this and this. So here you have emotional buying. Here you have logical buying, because you can practically say, well, contrast your position now to where you want to be, and then kind of use that innate human desire to want more and to dream and all of that to get the emotional buy-in, right? And then once you've kind of done this, there's usually some objection handling that happens at the bottom, right? Now, this is a process or a structure, if you like, for a high converting sales call. What you will notice is not here is an explanation of the offer, right? And again, like the key with sales calls is to understand that really they should be about 45 minutes, right? I see people doing sales calls for like 2 hours and these things. And first of all, that's not scalable, because if you're really, really pumping the engine and you're flooding your pipeline with leads, you're going to need to take, between 8 to 10 sales calls a day. So like if you're having calls that are 2 hours, 3 hours, like all these things, like it's just not scalable. But also it means that it's taking too long to get to the point, and that means you're going to lose the prospect, right? So you really want to aim for about a 45-minute time cap. Now, in these 45 minutes, you need to do all of this. You need to do a lot of discovery and really figure out where they are now. You need to paint the picture where they want to be. You want to take them through the offer. You want to explain everything. And then mostly what you want to do is you want to handle most of the objection handling for most of the call, right? So if we really break out this 45 minutes, right, we really want to spend the first 30 minutes doing a lot of the discovery, right? And then we really want to spend the rest of the 15 minutes doing objection handling and, of course, onboarding as well. So we've got objection and then we've got onboarding. That's really the key things here. And then usually if you're using Calendly, you want to have a buffer here for about 15 minutes. And that buffer is to do anything like if there's logistical problems with accepting payments or any of these things, right? That's how we really are going to structure this call. So if you have a look at it, outside of objection and onboarding, we have 30 minutes to play with here. And in that 30 minutes, really we want to spend anywhere between like 10 minutes on, where they are now. We want to spend, 10 minutes on where they want to be, their future self. That's already 20 minutes. Then we want to spend about 5 minutes on, just chit chat in the beginning of the call. Technically, you would call this rapport building if you want to get super, super technical with me, but rapport building. And then really you have about 5 minutes spare over here to pretty much sort of summarize the offer. So 5 minutes is not a lot of time. And that's where people mess up, is they put all of the pressure on the actual sales call, right? And that's why they lose, and that's why their sales call rates are low. The key with having a really, really good sales call and a really good closing rate is to do most of the selling and most of the offer explanation and case studies and all of this before the call, because then it is actually a sales call, right? The sales call is for selling. It's not an explainer call or some complicated presentation where you have to show a lot of things. That needs to happen before. And so what most people don't understand is the prospect books the call over here, and then they have the sales call over here, and they kind of do nothing in between, right? Even though, let's say that 3 days go by between here and here, most people just do nothing, right? The average person that I see usually just has like some Calendly notifications with like some automatic emails and SMSs. And this is literally, and I mean literally, leaving money on the table. Like, it's crazy. When I see agency owners do this, I'm like, you realize if we just spent like 20, 30, 40 minutes doing something, you would be able to triple, quadruple, 10x your closing rate, which literally means you probably would make 10 times more money last month than you actually did, right? And also think about all the opportunity costs, because those clients are going to pay you again this month and the next month. And when you start to really calculate these numbers, you just realize what a huge, huge mistake this is. Okay, so now you're saying, okay, cool, Courtne, you drilled the point home, but like, what do I need to do? Well, very, very simple. You need to create some form of nurturing funnel. Okay, that's what you need. So I'm going to show you an example, and then I'm going to explain this. So as you know, the agency that I'm currently building is called GrowthTube, right? What do we do? It's not really important, but we help course creators, so pretty much info businesses, scale by running YouTube ads and doing YouTube content editing, right? That's pretty much what we do. So this is our funnel. The reason we have a funnel is because we run paid traffic through it. Now, I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't run paid traffic. It depends on a lot of things, revenue, where you're at with the business, lots of different things, right? But you should still have a funnel. Now, a lot of people think that, okay, when I have a funnel, that is literally just for paid traffic, right? Because very simple in the agency consulting space, it's, okay, we run an ad, they land on a funnel like this, they click the button, they give us their name, they give us their email, and they give us their phone number, and then that goes into a CRM, and from there we have a sales team attack it. So if they don't book a call, then the sales team phones them. If they do book a call, nothing happens, and then we take the sales call and we log all of it in a CRM. That is the usual process for running ads, which is correct. But the secret, the little thing in this entire process that makes everything work, is having a high converting video, right? Because I know a lot of agencies who spend a lot of money on ads and they run traffic through here and they don't book calls, right? Even though they get a huge amount of leads and a huge amount of traffic, they still don't book calls. And the reason why they don't book calls is because they don't have a good video, because they have approached the concept of this video wrong. Now, I'm not going to make this entire video about how to build a VSL, right? That's not what this video is about. But what I'm just saying is you need one, right? And the purpose of this VSL is to very clearly do a lot of the pre-sales work for you. So what that basically looks like is, in a very concrete way, explaining exactly what your offer is, how it works, what the mechanics are. And so again, to show you a real life example of this, I'm not going to play this video for you over here, but you can see I pretty much break out this Figma board and I run through exactly how the offer works, the fundamentals of it, etc., etc. I also do a bunch of rapport building by going through case studies and, just doing a bunch of stuff, right? But the key here is I do all of this in about 7 minutes, right? So I do it at pace, and I don't, go on and on and on about useless things that don't need to be spoken about, okay? And so at this point, I've got a perfect funnel for paid traffic, okay? But what about those leads that came through our cold email or any form of outreach that we were doing beforehand, which is how we got in this whole situation of needing to improve our closing rates in the first place? Well, here's the thing. This is still cold traffic, okay? If you book this call through ads, direct message, pretty much any form of outreach, they're still cold because they don't know you. Maybe you sent them a loom kind of promising a bunch of things, but still, they don't really know you, they don't know your results, and they certainly don't know how your service works, right? Because the key with outreach, which is a completely different video, is to talk about the outcome, not the fundamentals, right? But now, we want them to understand how the service works before they get on the call, so that we can spend the time on the call closing them, objection handling, collecting payment, not going into a large, complex kind of rebuttal of how to actually do the service. Also, because if you think about it, if you're running an agency at scale, you'll usually have someone doing the sales calls for you, and they're probably not experts in whatever service you offer, which is dangerous because if you are explaining the service on the call, it opens up that person to a lot of hard questions on the service, which they probably don't know. Or even if you're the agency owner and you're taking the sales calls in the beginning, but you have like a contractor delivering the services. So you don't want to be doing this on the call because you're putting yourself in a position to lose, right? And the whole point of this is to stack the cards in your favor so that you can close more, you can have more fun on sales calls, and because your closing rates are higher, you'll be more profitable and overall just scale a lot quicker. Okay, so what you need to do is create some nurturing content. And again, the goal of that nurturing content is simply just to explain the fundamentals, provide case studies, and do a lot of that rapport building beforehand so that you can literally get on the call and say, hey, did you understand everything? Awesome. The point of this call is to understand sort of kind of where you are now and where you want to be and see if we can bridge the gap. If we can, and it makes sense, then we can get the ball rolling. If not, then, all the best. We'll maybe give you some advice and we can go from there. That is what should be happening here. And that's how things scale and that's how things work, right? If you really want to push your closing rate higher and higher and higher and higher, which I know is what you want to do if you're watching this video. So make a quick 7 to 8 minute, maybe 10 minutes, but try and get it below 10 minutes video that explains everything, and then bake it into your process so that your leads see this content before they get on the closing call. And you can do that in numerous ways. You can set up automatic emails, automatic SMSs. There's lots of ways to do this. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. Right, so I hope that was valuable. Again, like I always say, if you are an agency owner and you do want to scale a lot quicker, we do have a little link you can click in the description, which explains my offer to you on how we can help you. And again, like I get it. A lot of people have 997 offers and they have automatic webinars. I get this. Like we're all marketers. We don't want more of that. And I certainly don't want to make another one of those. So I didn't. My offer is very different, very unique from what most people do in the space. So if that does interest you even a little bit, click the link, just go check it out. But if not, that's cool. Subscribe, like, do all of that. I keep making more content like this with the hopes of getting you to a position where, you're doing 10, 20, 30, 40K per month and you're so happy because of it that you just go ahead and book that call anyways. With that being said, guys, I'll see you in the next video.